The movie opens with Dr. Jack Harper narrating the day he lost his best friend, Clay Beresford Jr., by his own hands. He wonders how the day for Clay would have started and if he knew he would die that day. We're then shown Clay in his girlfriend's apartment enjoying a thinking session underwater in the bathtub while his girlfriend Samantha Sam Lockwood sits by the tub watching him. Once he comes out of the water, he takes Sam in his arms and he makes sure to use his lightsaber before getting ready for work. Clay is a young billionaire in love with Sam, his mother's personal assistant, so they have kept their relationship a secret. That day before going to work, he promises to tell his mother about them soon. He reaches his mansion and greets good morning to his mother, Lilith, the CEO of Beresford Capital. After having breakfast, they leave for work, and in the middle of the day, Clay visits his friend and heart surgeon, Dr. Harper, for advice on Sam's issue. Dr. Harper advises Clay to tell his mother about Sam and persuades him to marry her because time is running out fast for Clay as he has a heart condition that requires a heart transplant. Even if it is successful, it's still a 50-50 chance of him dying in 10 years. Dr. Harper has to attend to an emergency and he leaves Clay to do some thinking about marrying Sam. While returning, Lilith meets him outside the hospital and introduces him to Dr. Nair, a skilled heart surgeon who seems to have let his fame get to his forehead. Clay cannot bring himself to oppose his mom's decision to replace Dr. Harper, but it changes after the Halloween party when Clay decides to take action and tell his mother about Sam. It has been difficult for Sam to not be acknowledged in public even after being engaged with Clay for 6 months now. And finally, when Clay assures he is going to tell his mother about them, a broad smile appears on her face. Lilith is unhappy and asks Clay to wait for some time before going forward with the marriage, but Clay refuses to stay in his mother's protective shell and moves out of his mansion. On his way out, he feels a little dizzy, and after Sam gives him his emergency medicine, she apologizes and explains that she just wanted to be acknowledged. After feeling a bit better, Clay asks her to marry him, and she gladly says yes. He calls Dr. Harper to make arrangements for his elopement with Sam, and they marry privately at midnight. Soon after, Clay gets a call. They have found a donor for him, and he goes to the hospital only to find Lilith waiting with Dr. Nair. She is still adamant and tries to dissuade Clay by revealing Dr. Harper has 3 charges of misconduct against him, but that doesn't change his mind, and Clay chooses his friend Dr. Harper to be his surgeon for the transplant. Dr. Harper and Dr. Putnam prep Clay for the surgery and are waiting for Dr. Fitzpatrick, another member of the team of doctors that will be operating on Clay. Instead, Dr. Larry shows up as a last-minute replacement for Dr. Fitzpatrick, but Dr. Harper stays calm and vouches for Dr. Larry's skill as an anesthesiologist, and they soon start the procedure. Clay is put under anesthesia, and as soon as Clay drifts into sleep, he sees Sam on a beach. Surprisingly, he can still feel when the doctors shave his chest or when an iodine solution is used to clean the area. However, his body stays paralyzed, and he can't say or do anything about it. He is experiencing a rare form of complication during surgery known as anesthesia awareness. Clay starts to panic, but from the outside, he seems to be in a deep sleep. Suddenly, he feels a sharp scalpel cut through his skin. Only if Dr. Harper could hear him scream in excruciating pain. To shift his focus from the harrowing yet helpless situation, he tries to think of Sam. But that too gets infested with the images of the day his dad passed away after falling from the 2nd floor. He tries to concentrate on Sam and remembers when he first met her and how he fell hard for her. Sam's thoughts give him the strength to bear the pain, and he reminds himself of the promise he made to her before surgery to be with her and start a new life. Meanwhile, Lilith and Sam wait outside the operating room, and Lilith finds out that Clay and Sam eloped last night. Sam tries to placate the situation, and she manages to do so after Lilith learns that Sam carries Clay's medicines in case of an emergency. Sam hugs her to comfort her in this tough situation. Back in the OR, Dr. Harper sends away Dr. Larry for some time as they do not require his services, and just as he walks away, Dr. Harper steps back, not sure if he can continue after Dr. Fitzpatrick betrayed them. The environment turns tense, and Dr. Putnam reveals they have been pushing Clay down the donor list. Their plan is more sinister than anyone could have imagined. They plan to kill Clay. Clay is able to hear everything and tries very hard to move his limbs and take off the bandages from his eyes. He is able to do so, and he soon wakes up and gets off the bed, but then he sees his body still lying on the bed. He realizes he is having an out-of-body experience. He quickly rushes out of the operating room and tries to recall all the conversations he has had with Dr. Harper, trying to figure out what went wrong in their friendship that led to Dr. Harper planning his murder. While waiting outside, Sam meets Dr. Larry and is taken aback when she finds he is the replacement in the team operating on Clay. She immediately rushes to the operating room, and Clay feels he still has hope and approaches Sam, but his heart sinks when he hears their conversation and realizes Sam is also a part of the conspiracy. It is also revealed that Sam has worked in the hospital with Dr. Harper's team, and they had been working on the plan for a year to collect insurance money to pay off Dr. Harper's malpractices. Clay cries more from the betrayal than the pain of getting his heart removed. Sam decides to stay in the OR to oversee that the job is done by Dr. Harper, who is having second thoughts. She fills the injection with adriamycin to be injected into the new heart so it rejects Clay's body, slowly killing him, and hands it to Dr. Harper. As planned, Clay's heart starts giving in, and Dr. Harper trembles with guilt as he tries to bring Clay back to life, but Clay has stopped fighting for his life, and everything goes dark. Dr. Larry, who was returned by now, tries to console Dr. Harper, and they declare Clay dead. Dr. Harper and Dr. Larry go to break the news to Lilith, which leaves her heartbroken. Once Dr. Harper leaves, Dr. Larry asks her permission to take her son off the bypass, the machine keeping him alive. Lilith's eyes gleam with hope, and she asks Sam to leave her alone for a while. After thinking a lot, she goes to the cafeteria and, after a while, is found dead by Dr. Larry. Lilith had taken her own life, so Clay, who is close to death, can live after her heart is transplanted into him. Dr. Nair and his team rush in to take over and prep Lilith for the surgery. They also kick Dr. Harper and his team out after discovering their scheme. Back home, Clay, in his spirit form, lays on his bed when Lilith visits him, and he knows something is wrong. Lilith tells him how she was fooled by Sam initially, but when she had left the waiting room, Lilith snuck into her bag, and while searching through it, she found that Sam was actually working in the hospital before. Lilith composed herself after Dr. Larry asked for her permission to pull the plug on the machine keeping Clay alive, and excused herself and told everything to Dr. Nair before taking her life. Dr. Putnam and the assisting nurse get arrested as they try to run away. Sam tries to maintain distance and gets startled when Dr. Harper pulls her into his office to avoid being found by the police on the premises. Dr. Harper is ready to discard all the evidence connecting Sam to Clay and assures her that he's going to protect her and take her away someplace safe. But Sam turns her back on him and says that the police don't need her, but him, since he was the one who injected Clay's heart. Dr. Harper is shocked at her betrayal, but he is also one step ahead and shows the evidence of her fingerprints all over the syringe used to inject adriamycin. Meanwhile, the intense surgery is over in the operating room and Clay has a heartbeat. But soon after he is stitched up, the monitor shows no beat as Clay, still in spirit form, tells his mom he wants to stay with her after realizing Lilith gave her life for him. The surgeons try to revive him using defibrillators, but Clay resists. He explains that he doesn't have anybody out in the world left, but Lilith thinks he doesn't need anybody and takes him to revisit a scene from his childhood. It was Christmas and Lilith and her husband were arguing as usual to the extent he raised his hand on her. Clay couldn't take it and started calling out to his dad, which infuriated his father, and as he approached Clay, possibly to hurt him, Lilith struck her husband with a poking stick, and he fell off the railing from the second floor. Clay finally relives the truth that he has been suppressing all these years, that Lilith had helped him forget, thinking she was protecting him, but by doing so, she caused him more pain, and she apologizes for it. She tells him how proud she is of what Clay has become, and it is time for him to live and not waste away his life. With one last embrace, she bids him farewell, and Clay gives way to revival before the doctors can shock his body again. Clay's new heart starts beating, and we're taken back to the first scene where Dr. Harper narrates the time of death of Clay, but adds that 2.5 hours later, his life was saved. As the voiceover continues, Sam is seen running, but she soon gets nabbed by the police. Meanwhile, Dr. Harper lays down all the evidence he has collected, incriminating Sam, on his table and waits for justice to be served. And as the doctors remove the bandages from Clay's eyes, Clay opens them with Dr. Harper narrating that he is away.